Students, let's begin with the today's session, Class 8 History. In that, we are going to begin with Chapter 3, Ruling the Countryside. See, if you all remember in our second chapter, you have learnt about how East India Company, they became the Diwan, right? What is that Diwan? Diwan means they got the chief administrative officers, they got the powers to be the chief there. Now, we are going to see in this chapter what strategies the Britishers or East India Company is going to follow to become the good rulers towards the countryside. Now, let's have a quick look in the content of this chapter. The company becomes the Diwan, that is the main topic. Then the next second topic is crops for Europe, and the third is the Blue Rebellion and after. These three are the main topics of this chapter. Under this, we have many more subtopics. Let's begin with the first one. The company becomes the Diwan. Now, under this, we have revenue for the company also, the need to improve agriculture, then the problem, then the new system that has been devised, then the Munro system, then all was not well. These are the subtopics that we are going to cover in the main topic, that is the company becomes the Diwan. On 12th August 1765, the Mughal emperor appointed the East India Company as the Diwan of Bengal. As I told you in second chapter only, you have learnt about this. On 12th August 1765, the East India Company was appointed as the chief administrative office of the Bengal. They were the main officers. Here, one painting has been given here in that Robert Clive accepting the Diwani of Bengal. He is accepting the Diwani of Bengal from Shah Alam II and from the Mughal ruler in the year 1765. Then the actual event most probably took place in Robert Clive's tent, but with a few Englishmen and Indians as witnesses. This painting, the event is shown as a majestic occasion taking place in a grand setting. The painter was commissioned by Clive to record the memorable event in Clive's life. So, the grant of Diwani clearly was one such event in British imagination. Now, as Diwan, the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory. As I explained you the meaning of Diwan, they got the powers to be the chief administrative power under its control. Now it had to think of administrating the land and organizing its revenue resources. This had to be done in a way that could yield enough revenue to meet the growing expenses of the company. A trading company had also to ensure that it could buy the products if needed and sell what it wanted. So over the years, the company also learned that it had to move with some caution. Being an alien power, it needed to pacify those who in the past had ruled the countryside. Countryside means rural areas and enjoyed authority and prestige. Those who had led local power had to be controlled, but they could not be entirely eliminated. How was this to be done now? In this chapter, we will see how the company came to colonize the countryside. They organized the revenue resources, they redefined the rights of people, and they produced the crops it wanted. Now, the next topic in this revenue for the company. Company had become the Diwan, but it still saw itself primarily as a trader only. So, it wanted a large revenue income, but was unwilling to set up any regular system of assessment and collection. So, the effort was to increase the revenue as much as it could and buy fine cotton and silk cloth as cheaply as possible. Now, here, within 5 years, the value of goods bought by the company in Bengal doubled. Before 1865, the company had purchased goods in India by importing gold and silver from Britain. Now, the revenue collected in Bengal could finance the purchase of goods for export. Soon it was clear that the Bengal economy was facing a deep crisis. Artisans were deserting villages. See, you can see in the image also people from the Bengal, they started leaving their villages since they were being forced to sell their goods to the company at low prices. Peasants were unable to pay the dues that were being demanded from them. Now here you can see the weekly market in Murshidabad in Bengal has been shown here. Here the peasants and artisans from rural areas regularly came to these weekly markets to sell their goods and buy what they needed. These markets were badly affected during times of economic crisis. So company are they were selling their goods to the company at the low prices. So what was the condition of the peasants there? They were unable to pay the dues that were being demanded from them. So artisanal production was in decline and agricultural cultivation showed signs of collapse. Then again one more tragedy. In 1770, a terrible famine killed 10 million people in Bengal. About one third of the population was wiped out. So, if the company was in ruins now, could the company be certain of its revenue income? So, most company officials began to feel that investment in land had to be encouraged and agriculture had to be improved. So, there was a thinking like the need to improve agriculture is required. Now, how was this to be done? Here, after two decades of debate on the question, the company finally introduced the permanent settlement in 1793. Now, who did that? Charles Cornwallis. You can see the image has been given here. Cornwallis was the Governor General of India when the permanent settlement was introduced. Now, what is permanent settlement? Let's try to understand that. By the terms of the settlement, the Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as Zamindars. They were asked to collect rent from the peasants and pay revenue to the company. The amount to be paid was fixed permanently. That is, it was not to be increased ever in future also. Why they were doing this? So that the people living in Bengal should be stable there. They should not move out of the town here. It was felt that this would ensure a regular flow of income, of revenue into the company's coffers and at the same time encourage the zamindars to invest in improving the land. Since the revenue demand of the state would not be increased, so the zamindar would benefit from increased production from the land. So again the problem arises in the permanent settlement here. Now what is the problem here? The permanent settlement, however, created problems. Company officials soon discovered that the zamindars were in fact not investing in the improvement of land. Why they were not investing? Because they were getting the revenue, fixed revenue. They were not interested in expanding it or improving the land so that their agricultural production should be increased. Now let's see the revenue that has been paid, that has been fixed, was so high that the zamindars found it difficult to pay. Anyone who failed to pay the revenue lost his zamindari. Numerous zamindaris were sold off at auctions organized by the company. So by the first decade of the 19th century, the situation changed. The prices in the market rose and cultivation slowly expanded. This meant an increase in the income of the zamindars, but no gain for the company, since it could not increase the revenue demand that has been fixed permanently. Even then, the zamindars did not have an interest in improving the land. Some had lost their lands in the earlier years of the settlement. Others now saw the possibility of earning without the trouble and risk of investment. As long as zamindars could give out the land to tenants and get rent, they were not interested in improving the land. So these were the problems that were faced in the permanent settlement. Now then again, on the other hand, in the villages, the cultivator found the system extremely oppressive. Which system? That system of permanent settlement. So the rent he paid to the zamindar was high and his right on the land was not at all secured. They were insecure. To pay the rent, he had to often take a loan from the moneylender, and when he failed to pay the rent, he was evicted from the land and he had cultivated for the generations. So this was the drawback. This is what the problem they were facing. Then again the thinking came, a new system should be devised. Now let's see what was the new system. By the early 19th century, many of the company officials were convinced that the system of revenue had to be changed again. How could revenues be fixed permanently at a time when the company needed more money to meet its expenses of administration and trade? In the northwestern provinces of the Bengal Presidency, an Englishman called Holt Mackenzie devised a new system which came into effect in 1822. Now let's see what is that system. He felt that the village was an important social institution in North Indian society and needed to be preserved. So under his directions, collectors went from village to village. They inspected the land, measuring the lands and recording the customs and rights of different groups. The estimated revenue of each plot within a village was added up to calculate the revenue that each village is also called as mahal. We will see the meaning of mahal. What is that? Had to pay. So this demand was to be revised periodically, but it was not permanently fixed. The charge of collecting the revenue and paying it to the company was given to the village headman rather than the zamindar. So this system came to be known as the Mahalwari system. It means it involves measuring the land. Now let's see the meaning of mahal, that is called as village also. What is that mahal? In British revenue records, mahal is a revenue estate which may be a village or a group of villages. So this is what a new system was devised, that is Mahalwari system. So let's have the quick recap of what we have learnt in the today's session. First we learnt about the company becomes the Diwan. In that we saw the Mughal emperor appointed the East India Company as the Diwan of Bengal, right? That was on the day 12th August 1765. Then that was done in the actual event most probably took place in Robert Clive's tent, right? This is what we have seen in the painting that has been given in your textbook also. Then we saw as Diwan the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory. Then we saw about that the problems. What was that? It was needed to pacify those who were in the past had ruled the countryside, right? And enjoyed their authority and prestige. Then the next topic we learned in this is revenue for the company. Now in that we learned that the effort was to increase the revenue as much as it could and buy fine cotton and silk cloth as cheaply as possible. But then again we saw the Bengal economy was facing a deep crisis. Then the artisans they started deserting from their villages since they were forced to sell their goods to the company at low prices. Then again one more terrible famine in the year 1770 took place which killed 10 million people in Bengal. So this was the condition. Then it was like the company decided the third topic, that is the need to improve the agriculture. They thought of increasing to improve the agricultural production. Then what they did, they started their permanent settlement. We saw in that permanent settlement, what were the terms of that settlement? The Rajas and Taluktars were recognized as Zamindars. They were asked to collect rent from the peasants and pay revenue to the company. But the amount to be paid was fixed permanently. It should not be increased ever in future also. This is what we saw in permanent settlement. But again, the problem that was there in permanent settlement was the revenue that has been fixed was so high that the zamindars found it difficult to pay. Then numerous zamindaris were sold off at auctions organized by the company. And even we saw the zamindars, they were not interested in improving the land, right? So these were the problems that were faced in the permanent settlement. But then again a new system was devised. What was that new system? The new system was of Mahalwari settlement. In the northern western provinces of the Bengal, an Englishman called Holt Mackenzie, he devised that new system and that came into effect in 1822. And we saw there what was the under this, what the collectors went from village to village, they inspecting the land and measuring the fields and recording the customs and rights of different groups. Then we saw the meaning of mahal here. Mahal means it's a village. Village is called as a mahal. In British revenue records, mahal is a revenue estate, which may be a village or a group of villages. These are the topics that we have completed today. See you in the next session with the remaining new topic, that is crops for Europe and the Blue Rebellion, and even the first topic, the company becomes the Divan, the bit of the last part of that topic also. So see you in the next session. Till then, take care.